So hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Another day and another Honda review as we have here the 2024 Honda HR-VS in its base model guys. There's a lot to like about this crossover, but first I would like to thank everyone at Honda Cars Philippines for making this land-out review possible, and special thanks to everyone here at Honda Cars Manila Bay for allowing me to shoot here once again as I just did my land-out review of the Brio RS. The new Honda HR-V made waves back in 2022 as the Honda local lineup was missing that sweet spot vehicle, and upon its release, it was welcomed with warm reception. As the first base model land out, and hopefully more to come on my channel, there's a lot to like about this Honda HR-VS, and it's pretty loaded too with features despite being a base model. You have LED lights all around, including your fog lamps down below, and pretty distinct too for this HR-VS being the base model. You get a flatline gloss black grille, unlike that of the chrome and other sticky bits that you get in the higher models. You get a ground clearance of 196 millimeters, among one of the highest you can get in the variants too. I will get into detail with that once I am able to borrow the V or the RS model. At the heart of this Honda HR-VS sparked a bit of a debate because this is the same engine that you get in the Honda City. This is a 1.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that produces 120 horsepower and 145 Newton meters of torque, mated to a CVT transmission. At first, everyone was like, really? This power plant in a crossover? But having driven this for almost a week now, there's a lot to like about this engine, which we'll talk about later on. On the side profile, you get a lot of Euro vibes with this car, and two, the best looking wheels amongst the HR-V lineup. How to unlock and lock this vehicle. So that's how you lock it, and then you use your whole hand to unlock the vehicle itself. Now, for the door handles, it's located here on the C-pillar. And like what I said too, back in 2022, once this was released, you can literally close the door without slamming it. Yeah, that's fully shut already. I mean, it beeped on me, which is pretty cool. As for the rear, you get a full LED light bar and somewhat a slanting roof too. One drawback I had with this car for almost a week, yes, you may get a reverse camera over here, but there's no parking sensors for the rear, which I find very odd. But still, the reverse camera quality is so-so, but there are multiple views you can do with it, and it still kind of helps. But sadly, there's no dynamic guidelines which move left or right once you're turning the vehicle. But it makes up for it for the HR-Vs in general, not just for this base model, is the space here. I mean, just look at this, how much junk I can put here in the boot. And unique for all HR-Vs too, you have a movable tonneau cover, so you don't have to remove it anymore. I mean, you can remove it, but at least it's no longer the flap type here on the boot itself. And the total boot space here is at 335 liters, which is among one of the largest in this segment. You have LED lights on both sides and a grocery hook here only for the left side. And underneath, you have a space saver donut type tire. And folding the seats down is pretty easy, and it will equate now to 1,274 liters. Being a Honda, they did again more magic here with the boot. So what I just showed you was utility mode. This is long mode. I can lie down in this vehicle without having any issue, and you get tall mode. So this is how you fold the rear cushions of the rear seats up. Just put it up until it locks in place, and can literally have a party there once they're all up. I miss doing that actually with this Honda HR-VS. So that's about it with the exterior, the engine, and the boot of this Honda HR-VS. Let's check out the interior. So this is the interior once again of this Honda HR-VS. Here in the door card, you get a lot of plastic materials and squeegee stuff to mind you, and you get soft pads, leathers for your elbow. And once you step inside of all of the HR-Vs, you are greeted with the nice Honda chime in the instrument cluster itself. And finally, open it up so because it's so hot. You have an analog tachometer and speedometer on either side, and the digital display right in the middle displays all of your important information. And as you can hear, that's for the air conditioning knobs. Just wait for that in a moment. Here on the left side, you get a knob once again for adjusting the flow of the air conditioning vent. And then way further down, you get a cubby space, 3 blanks, electronic stability control button. And this button right here is for your road departure mitigation and your collision mitigation braking system, aka your forward collision warning. You can adjust all of the distance and warnings here on the steering wheel itself. And speaking of, now being the base model, this is all polyurethane, but still nice to the touch. There's actually a lot of squeegee in it. And then you have tilt and telescopic for your steering wheel. Very nice engine start-stop button. Pretty similar now like that with all Honda vehicles. And the buttons here on the steering wheel itself, you get your phone connectivity buttons on the left side and adjustments for the instrument cluster. And on the right side, you get your buttons here for adaptive cruise control, which I will get to later on. Yes, being a cruise control guy, I finally used this system for the first time ever. And surprisingly, being a base model, you get paddle shifters. And surprisingly, this HRVS is somewhat engaging to drive, which I will talk about more later on in the test drive. Infotainment system, pretty much similar like that with the Honda Cities and pretty easy to use. You get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Android Auto, there's somewhat a bit of a delay, but everything's crystal clear. The radio functions, you get 3 sources, and all of the sound system in here is pretty solid too, even though this is just in its stock form. The dashboard itself, now being a base model, yes, there's a lot of hard plastics here and there now, but for this middle trim here, just below the air conditioning vent and the infotainment screen, there's this nice squeegee material. I was expecting this to be all plastic, but still not bad to the touch. And overall here, the look is pretty good. Does give it a bit of a luxury vibe, even though this is just the base model. I will confirm soon with the V or the RS. I don't know what Honda will give me, if this thing here in the dashboard is really is more on the softer side of things, not this durable type. But I don't mind this S model, since I'm not gonna be touching this part anyways. And further down, my favorite part of this Honda HRV, you get your air conditioning knobs, and they make this unique sound. I like that. Air conditioning here is top notch, it's really cold. But first time I've noticed this, since I just did only test drive reviews in dealerships back in the day. If you're planning to raise the temperature up, the light around the knob now turns red, and if you want to make it colder, it turns blue. Very nice, elegant touch there made by Honda. And way further down, you get 2 USB ports and a space for your phone, and way further down, another cubby space for your phone, along with a 12-volt socket. If not mistaken, only the higher variants are the ones that get the wireless charging, but I don't see the need for it because my phone is not capable of wireless charging yet. Whoops. And here in the center console itself, you get your usual gear shifter, PRNDS, and further behind, you get 2 cup holders with plastic grips, your Econ hill descent, electronic parking brake, and your brake hold buttons here. Very handy, it's all buttons, not somewhere here buried in the infotainment system like with some modern vehicles nowadays. And here, the center console box, surprisingly it's leather, and the space is pretty decent, but I wish it was just a little bit deeper. But it can still hold a lot of stuff at least. And seats here, now being a base model, it's all fabric. Surprisingly, good amount of bolstering, and as I mentioned earlier, this is pretty engaging to drive, so this bolstering will come in handy. But the seats overall, very soft. It's not too hard, not too soft, just the right amount, and it's still very much comfortable to sit in. And above here, you get your LED lights, sun visor, get the vanity mirror with halogen light on either side of the visor, which is cool. They extend, right? And glove box, okay, pretty decent in size. And now here at the rear, one thing I forgot to mention with the flexibility of the boot, you get the utility, long mode, and tall mode. But there's another one that I missed out, which I am demonstrating to you now. This is refreshed mode, so all of the front seats are folded downwards here to the rear, so you can literally stretch and probably camp here in the back. That's how spacious it is. And speaking of, with the seats in its normal setting, feet room, I can almost stretch my feet, but I can stretch my body all the way forward. Headroom, okay, pretty alright for a crossover with a slanting roof. Overall, it's pretty much spacious. And yeah, if I sit here in the middle, there's just a small transmission tunnel. It's pretty wide enough, you can simply put your feet up. And the seats here is pretty much the same like the ones I'm lying down on now. It's all fabric, and you get the very flimsy, funny armrest, but at least you have 2 cup holders still. And on the door cards here now on the rear, pretty much the same like the ones in front. You still get leather soft pads for your elbow. No more cubby spaces and cup holders on the bottom part. Well, there's still no cubby space here on the rear door, but your cup holder now is located right here. It's only perfect for small cups and bottles, not my big water jugs and all that. And here in the middle, you get 2 air conditioning vents and a cubby space just down below. And behind both front seats, you get 2 map buckets on either side, and above here you get another LED light so you can see me more. So yeah, that's about it here with the interior of this Honda HRVS. Let's go for a drive. You know what I'm wearing? Now driving the HRVS. For once, I enjoyed driving this around in the metro. The engine is adequate in terms of refinement. So here, just a demo. I mean, it's a common characteristic with all of the Honda CVTs out there. Hence, this has the same drivetrain as the Honda CT itself. For once, I enjoyed driving this around the metro. The engine is adequate in terms of refinement. Just traveling here around at slow speeds. No fuss whatsoever. Although I would take a bit of note that in rougher pavement like this, for example, you can hear a bit of tire noise. But once the asphalt smoothens out like here, straight after this corner, there you go. Easy peasy, not much noise going into the cabin. Yeah, it's pretty good for crossover. Among one of the better NVH in this class of subcompact crossovers. However, once you need to go up to speed, yeah, this engine somewhat needs to do a lot of work. But let's not take this away that this is the base model. Everything is actually pretty darn good. And once you go up to higher speeds, I mean, this performance is pretty okay. Of course, this is only the 120 horsepower engine, and yeah, it still gets you up to speed, but it's not as quickly knowing the turbo models exist. Yeah, at higher speeds like highway driving, yeah, the engine may tend to scream up. That is pretty given in all of the cars in general out there that have CVT transmissions. But the high point of this HRVS, like here, low speed, like 40, 50 kilometers per hour. Look how quiet it is. You have a very tall ground clearance, as I mentioned. So here currently in a roundabout. So despite all of that, the handling is actually another highlight with this HRVS. Overall, the ride is pretty pliant. It's not too soft, not too hard, but actually just a little bit more on the stiffer side. So just like here on this level. So there's a graph here now right on the screen. Despite all of that too, the handling is pretty much excellent. So in terms of overall cars in all classes with this amount of ground clearance, yes, among one of the best handling ones that I've tried out. And two, probably the best crossovers out there as well. As I praised too, like with all Honda vehicles, this CVT is among one of the best in class. So here, sport mode, and just floor it. Yeah, that's the thing with sport mode. Yeah, it will tend on to hang on the revs a bit longer than usual now. But once you put it in D mode, and especially in eco mode, yeah, it will keep the revs as low as possible to save fuel. Sport mode, okay, that's how you actually drive this car if you want to go a bit faster, to be honest. And to my surprise too, being down on power on the turbo models, I was wondering myself, why does this feel more agile than the higher models? Well, the designation says it all. This is 101 kilograms than the V turbo model, and I almost like 120 than that of the RS, which I just did a quick dive video of. I played with this HRVS on the twisties. I would say it's still pretty much a very fun crossover to drive. Yes, there's that stigma knowing the turbo models exist. You should go for that. However though, this S model still has a lot of tricks up its sleeve. And that's just the driving and handling characteristics of all the HRVs. Everyone will ask, can this make it up to Baguio? Well, I can confirm it can, but I don't go to Baguio. However, I found the perfect place to simulate Baguio driving. There's this ever popular mall somewhere in Mandaluyong. So this has one of the steepest parking lots probably ever. And this car made it up with this. Not to my surprise, it handled it pretty well. And I will say though, if you're planning to load this up with like 5 people and a lot of stuff in the boot, yeah, the engine has to work a lot more. However, you will still make it. Something I barely talk on my channel is highway driving, aka using adaptive cruise control. I would say, I know this is the first time I've used it. I will benchmark now all of the Honda with the Honda Sensing Suite, with all of the collision mitigation and lane departure, adaptive. I mean, you can literally drive this with no hands, just for demonstration purposes only, and not even touching the pedals, and adjust the speeds here and there. I enjoyed this for once, and yeah, I kind of understand now why people are telling me to use cruise control. Well, more say adaptive cruise control. I will benchmark Honda Sensing as probably the best ADAS systems out there. What I like to with this adaptive cruise control, it's very good to use, and there's even a slow speed function up to 30 kilometers per hour. So basically, you can use this around EDSA on heavy city driving, rush hour, payday traffic. And U-turn test, pretty tight too for a crossover. I mean, not to surprise, it's a Honda. Now for the, surprisingly, the thumb card of this Honda HR-VS. Yes, this may be down on power, but it has the engine of the Honda City, making this one of the more fuel-efficient crossovers you can buy today. So as I mentioned, heavy EDSA payday Friday traffic, I managed to hit the magic number of 8.4 kilometers per liter, but I got as low as 7.1 kilometers per liter, which is the same I did in my first test drive review back in Alabang 2 years ago. On better days though, you can get as much as 11.8 to 12.1 kilometers per liter. That's actually pretty impressive. And finally, driving this on the highway, you can get as much as 22.4 kilometers per liter. According to some reports and reviews, you can even go higher than that. I think AAP were able to get as much as 29.9 kilometers per liter. That is pretty much insane. I will have no time to do that whatsoever. And for the cost of this base model, this is what intrigued me the most. Usually when it's the base, the middle, and the top of the line brand, there's just like a few 100,000 pesos difference only between all the variants. But for this one, it's actually quite a lot. So this one stands at 1,389,000 pesos, and that means this is 260,000 pesos less than that of the next one, the V Turbo, and of course it will be a more expensive if you go for the RS model. So yeah, that concludes my test drive review of this Honda HR-V S base model. So again, I'd like to thank everyone to Honda Cars Philippines for making this land-out review possible, and special thanks once again for Honda Cars Manila Bay for accommodating me in this shoot, and to Miss Yssa and to Miss Maybelle. So if you want to inquire more about Honda vehicles, highly check out their dealer. One more time. Right. So, hope you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you with more future car reviews and more Honda reviews coming right up. Bye-bye.